through us, renewing, restoring, and regenerating us on every level. Physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Jesus called this the river of life. The life energy that moves through us and around us and is generated from within us. We can still view prayer as reaching outside of ourselves, or we can view prayer as reaching inside of ourselves. The kingdom of heaven is within us. God's love is deep within us. God's life, God's peace is within us. We don't have to leave our homes to feel the peace. We don't have to read another book to feel the presence of peace. We don't have to listen to another speaker, CD. We only have to visit the realm of spirit within us. As we look out into the beautiful day, the trees and the sun, the ocean, as we begin to see our gardens bloom, bulbs coming up, we begin to see trees budding, we remember that what appears to be dormant in one moment is still full of the life energy that has created our world. And the life energy will always show itself again in so many different ways in our lives, in our hearts, in our minds, and around us. We give thanks for that life energy. We take one more deep breath. We deepen more into our hearts. We remember those that we are holding in prayer. And from our sense of wholeness and peace, we hold these beloveds and see their wholeness and their peace, despite circumstances and appearances. From our wholeness, we see one another's wholeness. And into this heart of healing, we speak their names out loud if that feels comfortable for you. As we take a few moments of silence, we let this love, this peace, the sense of wholeness extend out into our world and reach faraway places and nearby places. We are the light of the world. And we give thanks that this light is blessing our world near and far. And we say, so it is, and so we let it be. Namaste. And now everybody say, let there be light. Let there be light. Oh, we are so powerful. So I hope you brought your self-knowledge with you, because we're going to get it out this morning and look at it and dust it off and shine it up. So, we are often reminded here to take a deep breath. And this is a topic for which I, and maybe you, have to take deep breaths about 33 times a day at least. Self-knowledge. And look, word for the day, today in the Daily Word, self-acceptance. That goes along with self-knowledge, self-acceptance. And Worldwide Ministries and I planned this. They put this in Daily Word today because they knew it just happens that way sometimes. So self-knowledge and acceptance of who we are is key to bringing forth the presence or the light of the world. That's the secret. I know there was a movie about the secret, but here's another secret. I remember at a conference once on good and evil, I asked this bishop, what about in the Bible where it says all things will be reconciled unto the love of God? Does that even include that which we know is evil? And the bishop said, and then he said, that's one of the 7 great mysteries. And you know, I happen to know that he did not have a good answer for that. So here's one of the mysteries. Your self-knowledge and my self-knowledge is helping to create peace on the planet. Our self-knowledge is helping to create the presence of peace and healing in the world. We have wonderful teachers and we read wonderful books and we inspire one another. And until we visit the altar within the Holy of Holies of our own heart and see it as key to this awakening that's happening, then we're not getting it. And because I teach this stuff a lot, I think I'm starting to get it. So here we are. Emmett Fox, this is a little bit of a review from last week. He said, life is a state of consciousness. And then Charles Fillmore said, our most important study is our own mind. There are some days when I think, gee, do I really want to be looking into my mind too deeply? Our most important study is our own mind, not only the intellectual mind, that would be too easy, but the spiritual mind. So let's see what else he has to say. Our quest for truth must begin with self-knowledge. This is Charles Fillmore, our co-founder. And the awareness that we have an inherent knowledge of truth. Now let's take a deep breath. Many of us were not taught that truth is within us. We were taught that we had to go to whom? Priest? Minister? Who? The nuns. Oh, yeah. Well, we do have to go to the nuns. The priest, the rabbi, the nuns, the minister. Who? Know thyself. The source of all wisdom is within the spectrum of what? Our own consciousness. I've put this up here today in several different ways because a lot of us, me included, will read this, say it, think about it, ponder it, and we still will pretend that we don't know who we are. So where's Angie? She put that on a seashell. There it is. I have it on my desk. It's a question that came to me in meditation once. A question that was in an audible voice that I could hear. I opened my eyes to see who else is in the room with me. The question was this: are you willing to stop pretending that you don't know who you are? Are we willing to stop pretending that we don't know who we are? And stated in another way, are we willing to know who we are?
Yes.
Okay, we've got one. So Eric Butterworth, Unity Minister Extraordinaire, he said, progressive educators realize, as the ancient Greeks did, that true education is the process of waking up to light and releasing the effusion of light that's already within us. The very word education, from the word educare, means what? Not to pour more in, but to pull out, to help encourage that which is within us already to be expressed. This was not the way most of us were taught. So we're undoing this idea that we have to pour anything else in, and we're opening up to this incredible, outlandish idea that that innate knowledge is already within us, and so we open out a way from which the imprisoned splendor can express. That's why we find places where we're encouraged to do this. Gaining of wisdom is not merely the result of pouring facts into our heads. Rather, it is remembering or calling forth the spiritual truths that are inherent within our consciousness. So here's another review. If you want to close your eyes and listen to this, if you want to know what I'm listening, this is my main CD right now that I'm listening to when I'm upstairs doing my meditation sometimes. Ken Carey, The Third Millennium. In the perspective of seasoned travelers of the stars, a race that lives with daily access to a universe's library of information without ever making use of it is more primitive than a race who has yet to discover fire. And he goes on to say, so simple a thing, the discovery of fire, yet so immense, so revolutionary the change it brings, and so simple a thing, the discovery of God. So simple a thing to discover that we've had it in us all along. So simple a thing to discover. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore again. A review from last week. Jesus Christ is here now, raising me to his level of consciousness. I am open and receptive to his teachings and guidance. This is what they said at the beginning of their classes, their workshops, their prayer gatherings. What is the consciousness that we're aligning with? Who are the people that represent this awakened consciousness for you? Who are the ones who lived in the physical prior to this time or present time? Who are the people, the holy ones, the sacred teachers, who hold that consciousness for you that you want to align with?
Reverend Margaret.
On a good day. So there's two directions that we can go. There's a story in the book of Luke. So those with your Bibles, if you want to follow along. Luke 10, verses 38 through 42, the story of Mary and Martha. It's a fabulous story. Jesus comes to the home of Lazarus, and his sisters are there, Mary and Martha. And Jesus is there to be with them and visit with them. And I think somewhere in Mary's consciousness she knew that they had Jesus with them for a very short time. I think she knew on some level that something was going to shift. Something was ahead that maybe Jesus wouldn't be with them physically for much longer. I feel like she knew that. Martha is in the kitchen. She's making the stuffed lettuce wraps and the cream sauces and the salmon like we had at reception Friday night. She's doing all this work and details, and thank the good Lord for people who do that. We need the people to make the coffee and do the potlucks, right? Mm-hmm. At the same time, sometimes we get so caught up in the details. We get so caught up in making sure that everything's the way it's supposed to be that we forget that the master, the teacher, is in the living room giving some ideas and wisdoms and insights that we also want to listen to. And so the idea, the story for me is to bring balance into our lives, to have the details, take care of what needs to be taken care of, but don't leave off the very important process of visiting the Holy of Holies within us and listening to that innate knowledge within us. That, to me, is the story of Mary and Martha. For me, I'll just speak for me, sometimes I'm too caught up in the details. And sometimes all I want to do is sit in the meditation time, in the quiet time, the silent time. And so I call forth balance. Take care of the details, and spend my time in silence, listening to the innate knowledge, so that the details I do take care of are taken care of in a more excellent, mindful way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We want to be sure to sit at the feet of the Master. And when I go into silence, I want to align my consciousness with those who, for me, represent the Master consciousness. And for me, always, that will include Jesus. That's where I've come from. That's my foundation I stand for. You know who your people of sacred consciousness are. Point is, we want to make a decision. I'm going to find this cute little pointer. Last week when I went to look for it, I showed you where it was. Now I can't remember. Hold the red dot. You have to be able to see the red dot. Okay, there it is. Okay, with our conscious mind, we make a decision. We make a decision in the conscious mind to go into the superconscious mind, the realm of divine ideas. This is basic metaphysics. We make a decision. I'm going to now sit in silence. I'm going to do my deep breathing. I'm going to open up to this divine flow of consciousness. I'm going to listen. I'm going to be in that presence and receive what's there for me. And when I do that, when I access superconsciousness, the realm of divine ideas, through prayer, silence, meditation, listening, that wonderful energy, that river of life, flows through conscious mind down into subconscious mind. Why is this important? Because I don't know about your subconscious mind, but my subconscious mind has some things in it that still, from time to time, show up, manifest in my life, in my world. And I might be being driven by old fears or ideas or beliefs that are no longer for my highest and best good. So I want the energy of this, superconscious mind to, flow into every aspect of me. I was at a gathering last night where we were talking about the long dance at Lindley's. We were talking about the long dance, and I told them that it feels like all of life is a long dance to me. You know, all of life, we're required to do the dance that we're designed to do. Each one of us uniquely designed to do this dance, this long dance of life. And I know some of you feel this way because we've had talks together. I feel these days like I'm living multidimensionally. Mm-hmm. And maybe I always was. As a matter of fact, that's true. But I didn't always know it. So I feel my feet on the ground, I feel my feet on the earth, but I also feel the huge expansiveness of who we are. And I feel my presence in other universes, other realities, other levels of reality. We are so much bigger than we normally know ourselves to be. We are so much more connected with all of life than we know ourselves to be normally, usually. Who we are, the hugeness of who we are that looks through our eyes. Once we feel it, once we feel the observing consciousness that looks through our eyes, once we're aware of the listening consciousness that is listening through us, we are having this life right now, known as Margaret or Rochelle or Nancy. We're having this life right now. Who we are goes so much more beyond this one physical life. And the people that we know as the saints, the people that we know as the Christ consciousness, this is how they lived. This is how they continue to live. They live multi-dimensionally. Something to think about there. So the superconsciousness, the upper room. It's known as the upper room, the Holy of Holies, the realm of divine ideas. Why do we want to seek this place? What are other names for it? Superconsciousness is just one name for it. What other names?
Higher self.
Higher self. Heaven. Peace. Home. This love, this consciousness. What else? The Atman, the Hindu call it the Atman. Divine, truth,
And what I am.
the I am,
Enlightenment.
enlightenment,
The one presence.
the one presence. Why do we want to seek that consciousness, that innate knowledge? That's who we are. Now, when some people walk into this building, into this place, they say, I feel so welcome here. I feel like I'm at home. Now, why would that be? This is just bricks and mortar and paint. Some of the mortar's cracking. Why would that be? Because in places like this, we are encouraged to feel our true sense of home. We're encouraged to reflect and express the trueness of who we are. That's home. Whether we're here in this building or at Myrtle Beach Airport or traveling around the world to India, home is the consciousness of this self-knowledge that we're talking about this morning. Being at home in your unique divine self-expressing. That's home. So what happens to us? What happens to us? Well, John O'Donoghue, where's Tom O'Dwyer? It's one of your Irish brothers. Probably a cousin, right? John O'Donoghue, in his book, Beauty, he writes this: the heart of all creativity is the awakening and flowering of individuality. And by the way, Charles Fillmore called individuality the Christ consciousness. The mystery and magic of being an individual is to live life in response to the deep call within, the call to become who we were dreamed to be. In primal terms, it is the call to discover and realize the divine blueprint in the soul. This is where freedom truly awaits us. It is the poise of our souls. Doesn't that feel good? Breathe into that. To be poised in our souls. To be poised and at peace in the awareness of our self-knowledge. To be poised in peace. There is no other presence in creation that has such potential for freedom as the human self. Here's the clincher. Put on your listening ears. Yet, like seagulls in the unsheltered cold and ferocity of the ocean, we often nest out on the cold ledges of famished extremity and neglect. We forget that there's a meadow of flowers awaiting. Naturally, there will be times when truth of heart demands that we live on the ledges. However, to remain on the ledges resembles an addiction to misery. Where does he get off talking to us like that? Often, you and I will go out to the ledges where we forget our magnificence. And there's much healing that will happen there. There's much insight and awakening that will happen there. What John O'Donoghue is reminding us of is to remain out on those ledges, to make that our main place of living. That becomes like an addiction, and he calls it an addiction to misery. So he's not judging us for visiting the ledges. He's reminding us that that's not the place we're designed to live. Now this horse on the altar builders put this horse on the altar last week, and I was thinking, how do I build a horse into a message about self-knowledge? Because I like the horse. And I don't know what their designing intention was, but I love that the horse is there. It reminds me of this story. When I was 12, we were invited to go out horseback riding, and I pretended that I knew more than I actually did about riding horses. How hard could it be? I've been on the horses, you know, that go around and around the track where somebody's guiding and holding onto the reins. So they put me on a horse, that hadn't been ridden in about 6 months. And yes, there were adults there, but... So, at 12 years old, I'm on the horse, we're taking off riding, and suddenly this horse gets a mind of its own and takes off, and we're racing through the fields. And I did something that I realize now is not the best thing to do. I started screaming. It didn't help that my mother was in the background also screaming. You know, when we start screaming, there's always someone, somewhere, CNN, they'll start screaming with you. I screamed, and the horse kept running faster and faster. And my mother was in the background reminding me, just in case I might forget, watch out for the barbed wire fence! So here's the lesson. There was another voice screaming, and the voice said, stop screaming. Have you ever noticed when we're out on the ledges and we're screaming, it's hard to hear the voices that are saying, stop screaming. Relax. Be at peace. It's hard to hear because we're screaming. It's hard to hear the voice that's saying, come back to the meadow. Come off the ledges. Come back where the green, beautiful things are growing. Come back. Stop screaming. So finally, I was able to hear the voice, not my mother's voice, but the other voice that said, stop screaming. And when I did, what do you think happened?
The horse spit up.
The horse spit up. The horse calmed down until it was just a gentle, sweet trot. The horse was as scared as I was. So this lesson, self-knowledge is within us. In the midst of my, truly, in the midst of my terror, a voice came through. That is my innate self-knowledge. In the midst of being on the ledges of fear and terror, a voice came through. It didn't say you're the light of God. It didn't say you are the beloved of God. It didn't say you are precious and adorable and loved and embraced and the angels are with you. It simply said what I needed to hear in the moment. Stop screaming. Simple. That innate self-knowledge is within us, resides in us. This book that we're going to be studying starting the end of the month, Heart-Centered Metaphysics, the whole book is about this idea that you and I have within us already, this awareness of what to do every next step, every next right perfect step. And the one part that we're missing is acceptance of that, so that we visit that place often enough to hear what the self-knowledge is trying to tell us. How many of us in this room, me included, still resist going into the silence and the place of peace and listening through prayer, silence, meditation, contemplation? How many of us keep our days so full that we stay on the ledges rather than coming to the center of peace? Well, we're not going to take any points from your overall score. It's up to you to keep visiting this place of innate self-knowledge. And I tell you, the more I accept that this is so, the easier it's for me to go there. Mm-hmm. I know because I did the meditation class, about 45 of us met for 10 weeks. It's a fabulous class. And the one thing we heard over and over and over is, I just don't have time to meditate. I just don't have time to go to the silence. I just don't have time to spend in prayer. You know, can I listen to this meditation CD on my way to work in the car? So that's probably not a good idea. When do we have time? We always have time. If you're spending too much time on the ledges and forgetting your peace, then who gets to decide to come away from the ledges and come back to the meadow? Who gets to decide that? You know, my Catholic friends, they would go very simply into the confessional booth and be told, do 10 Hail Marys and community service. I'm not sure. I'm not.
That's only for murder you get community service.
So I guess we're told what to do. Right? And now you're in an arena and you have designed your life so that you are the high priest in the confessional booth. You are the high priest going into the Holy of Holies. You are the one accessing divine and holy consciousness. It's you. Nobody else gets to tell you, you know, listen, you haven't been there in 45 days. You need to go in and visit your innate self-knowledge. Nobody gets to do that but you. Some ways it was easier to have a confessional booth, right? But you are the Holy of Holies. Well, then with one more story, and that's it. I'm not going over today like I did last week, and that's this. In the Old Testament, we are told that the temple was designed with 3 areas, and the first area anybody could go in. Didn't matter how much money you made, didn't matter who you were, what your social standing was, everybody could go into the outer courtyard. And then there was a middle part, you know, you had to be a little more connected with the temple, a little more righteous. And then the third part was the Holy of Holies. That's where only people who had been to certain universities could go. That's where the high priest could go. And the high priest would go there to access the immense power that was in that place and come out and bless the people. Actually, we're told that they wore these ornate breastplates and shoulder pieces and headpieces and aprons to keep the power from knocking them to the ground. And when they were knocked to the ground, there was a rope tied onto the foot of the high priest so they could pull him out of the Holy of Holies. And then Jesus came along and he did something outlandish. He said, every single one of you are designed to be a high priest, high priestess, and to access that place, that holy place. Every one of you is designed to go into the Holy of Holies. And it's not just the bricks and mortar temple Holy of Holies. Where is the Holy of Holies? And that's who you are. And that's what your self-knowledge tells you. So we want to go there more often. Namaste.
Thank you, Reverend Margaret. Wow. I'm going to go a little off script for a second. I started working on my requirements for Licensed Unity Teacher, and I have had the privilege of having teachers from all over the country. And many times we aren't aware of what we have in our own backyard. And let me tell you, number one is this book. This will be my 3rd time going through it. This is kind of the primer now for Unity. If you want to take your life to a different place spiritually, Dr. Hasselbeck has taken all the best teachings in Unity and condensed it so that you don't have to read all 50 books out there. You can take this course. But you're going to have, I believe, one of the best teachers in Unity in the country right there teaching this. And if you miss this for 5 weeks with Reverend Margaret, you're missing an incredible opportunity that's right there in your backyard. Don't miss it. It's going to be awesome. All right, now I'm off script and I have no idea where I am. But again, thank you for that message. Awesome. If I could have the ushers come forward. And as they take the offering, we're going to have our David and the Friends song. Oh, I'm sorry. See, I am off. Thank you, David. Keep me on. If you join us for the blessing, I am the light flowing through me, blessing these gifts to radiate peace. But I sure think the band sounds better every Sunday. Once again, we could do our blessing. I am light flowing through me, blessing these gifts to radiate peace.
Yes, we got just a few more announcements, and they are, once again, contemplative service 5:30 Wednesday night, and then oneness blessing at 6:30. Right in here, powerful things are happening. Course in Miracles Thursday night 6:30, and the Unity Bookstore Sage Smudge Sticks still on sale, along with books, salt lamps, candles down there for sale. Next Sunday, Evolving Spiritual Consciousness, again out of the Metaphysics book that we'll be studying. An angel party with Susan Bowles, Monday, February 17th. If you haven't been to an angel workshop with Susan yet, you have missed something fabulous, so mark your calendar. And then, ooh, that looks like you, Dan. So many of us did the Holy Money workshop a few weeks ago, and we wanted more. So for people who were in that workshop, Dan's going to do part 2, and that will be Saturday, February 22nd. For those of you who attended the other workshop, you can sign up for part 2 workshop, and that's over here. And then oneness blessing will happen right in here after service. And remember, if you want to be a part of the